This is Beyond Perception, where it's all about breaking out of limited perception and waking up to our creative genius, our human potential, our true self. I'm Simon Rilling, and today I'm here with Yoshi Pantera. Born in Ecuador, he's a plant-based chef, event producer, MC, poet, permaculture designer, and deeply passionate about dancing salsa and protecting the Amazon jungle in Ecuador. In 2007, he founded the collective Wave, a collective of artists and activists designing regenerative projects and creating positive transformational experiences for people. And now he hosts the Regenerative Culture podcast to help individuals and communities transition into regenerative culture and to establish health and abundance for future generations to come. Bienvenido, Yoshi.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the intro, appreciate the invitation. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and transmission of some information.
Yeah, super cool. And do you know how you caught my attention?
No, how was that?
When I saw a video of you doing a ninja role representing your alter ego, a jungle ninja. And can you tell us a little bit what is an alter ego and why did you choose a jungle ninja?
Yeah, thank you. That's funny because I feel that the alter ego is important in our lives because it's ourselves in the future. So we want to be ourselves in a higher state of mind, higher consciousness, in a higher stage of our body. So the alter ego is that, like, I want to get there. And the alter ego can also be heroes or someone you admire or someone that inspires you. But I kind of created my own. Like, I personally want to become a jungle ninja, which means that I can have a peace of mind, my body also into a maximum potential where I can climb trees and hide and run and this and that. And ninja also because really the culture in Japan is something I admire a lot. And so I read a lot and saw some documentaries and movies about the Japanese culture in terms of martial arts in general, different types of martial arts. And I admire a lot how this wisdom and connection with the higher self, the consciousness, allows to create peace. And so now martial arts have taught me different things too. So I have this alter ego that I want to get into, and also the ninja side of it also is a protection too. So my passion is to help conservation of the jungle and the rainforest in Amazon in the Ecuador. So the ninja kind of puts me in that warrior stage also, and it pushes me my limits every day. I'm remembering, okay, I want to get there, and yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. And you're from Ecuador originally, right? So, and from what you just shared, the jungle, and what I also got about you when I researched you a little bit, the jungle is very dear to your heart. And why is that? Like, how comes this connection or also care for the jungle?
Thank you for asking. I was living in San Francisco, California for about 12 years. I moved away from there 5 years ago. So during this time, there was different stages of my life where I became more aware of myself, aware of the planet, nature, and every action and decision that I would take, it will be involved with nature. I will open up to understand how this works. So during the deep understanding, I find that it's degenerative culture. So everything I was doing was affecting nature, the oceans, the air, and so I didn't want to participate in that anymore. So during my experiences of learning about climate change, health, and all, I realized that, well, what's the biggest action I can take in my daily life? What's the best thing I can do? Well, during all this, I had to learn about myself first, and what can I do for myself? How can I expand my regenerative actions or conscious actions in a larger scale where it has a greater impact? So these stages was, okay, I start with myself, then I can build my garden, then I can work in community, and then wow, I can actually protect bigger lands, in this case of from exploitation or contamination. And learning all this in San Francisco, I asked myself, well, I've been learning all this, and why am I from? I connected a dot. Why am I from Ecuador? And why am I learning all these things? And why all these information is not being taught in Ecuador or in other countries? So I realized I had to go back, and I started working a lot towards creating community, creating networks where all these projects are protecting the Amazon jungle. There's so many, and we've been slowly creating a network through the line of the Amazon jungle where we are empowered and we are legally fighting against ridiculous laws, or ensuring that the laws are being practiced where there's protection for lands of nature and conservation of wild animals and whatnot. So we're there for that. We're there for the protection of the Amazon, not only in Ecuador but the entire Amazon. So it's a collective of many projects that it's focused on that. And don't get me wrong, any type of ecological project has a big impact. My path felt a big calling to go to Ecuador. So I did that connection. I felt it, and that's why I'm doing that over there right now. Mm-hmm.
And was that also the reason to start the collective wave? And is the collective wave your platform to do those things?
Exactly. Collective wave is something that I lived. It's a collective wave of consciousness. Suddenly I was questioning everything in my life, and I was very upset with how society and humanity works in the planet, where there's destructive patterns and all
Like
this got
sorry, what was there like one moment where you had this like, wait a minute, like, or like was it gradually on how, or how was this moment of this realization, like how did this change in
yeah,
perspective come?
it, it was definitely a build up. So slowly I realized I wasn't happy. I was part of a system that is supposed to be the American dream in this case, where you have to work, get married, buy a house, buy a car. So all this was happening. I was studying a lot. I was very exhausted, but I kept going, and realized that I was really getting sick. Not physically, really, but yeah, physically I was getting weight and everything. But my mind was just confused. I couldn't sleep well. I was in debt. It just didn't make any sense. I started to question many things, and through these questionings, I started to find information, meeting people, finding articles on the internet, reading some books. I went back to school, to university, started understanding about political science and all these crazy systems that really left us in a way that limits our potential. So suddenly, yes, I realized, okay, there has to be more. What can I do? Why do I exist? This question was powerful. Why do I exist here? What can I do to make this better, or should I just kill myself? That was a big question too. So should I just disappear? I have nothing to do here that actually fulfills me. So, and I have to say, I was really mad with society. Again, I'm saying this because there was a point in my life that I just thought that destruction was a way to go, because not that I wanted to kill people, but there was something big, impactful that had to happen for most humans to really wake up. Like for me, I there was a point where I had to slap myself in the face, like not physically but mentally, in a way that I have to realize that I'm not doing the right thing. I have to accept that, forgive myself, and then start to take action, like right away. So in this comparison of like, why, how am I supporting life, or what am I doing to help create more life in this world, or what am I doing to participate in a positive way in this world? So this directed me to understand nature too. And observing nature, I realized that everything in nature helps each other to keep surviving. A healthy jungle, a healthy ecosystem is independent, and it feels like it's a messy system, but it's actually, it makes sense. All elements of nature have multiple functions and help each other thrive. Of course, some are food for others, but however, we as humans are not participating in this ecosystem to keep thriving. We're destroying the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is the very element that we need to survive. So that observation helped me realize I have to stop living the way I'm living, and I have to take really strong, radical actions in my daily life in order to see a better world. So that was about 12 to 15 years ago. It was a slow process, but there was an aha moment, right? So it's like, of course, I have to stop doing what I'm doing right now and change completely my way of life, everything. So that's educational, economic, political, and even from my toothbrush that I'm using every day. What am I eating? What clothes do I use? And everything is part of the system. So questioning all that helps me realize, okay, I have to start taking action. From there on, I've been living like this towards this world that I want to see, feel for the future generations. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's incredible. Yeah, I had a moment this year where I was asking myself, when I multiply my impact times 1 billion, yeah, would this world be a better place or not? Yeah? And I had to scratch myself really, really hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Thank you for sharing. And like you said, it was really, really difficult. And and you kind of changed your life completely. What was the most difficult, like, thing to change? And when you
Yeah.
look back.
So I'm talking about mostly about my experiences, and it could be different from different people. But basically, what I've observed in my life, in my surroundings, is culture. Like we have everything right now, everything to live abundant, meaning that everyone is rich, everyone has more than what they need. Not money, but we can have a little more clothes than what we need, to the point where I can gift it to others. A little more food than what I need, to the point I can gift it to others. It doesn't have to be abundant in a way that there's going to be waste. There's a misinterpretation of what abundant means, really. So abundant doesn't mean that, okay, I'm rich and nobody else has any. No, abundant means that we are all healthy. We all have enough. It's kind of like with nature. There's so many seeds in different fruits and flowers that it's just thousands of different types of seeds. That's abundance. Like one flower can just multiply abundantly. So realizing that abundance exists, we can work towards that. And culture is the hardest thing that we need to change. Our culture, our society, our systems are degenerative. So if we want to see a better world, it needs to start with ourselves. It needs to start with our habits, and our habits create our culture. So in my experience personally, okay, the first thing that I did is stop a lot of addictions that I had. I was an alcoholic. I used to do a lot of other substances, and had bad habits, like I would sleep a lot. I was lazy. I was distracted. I was just not doing well. Do a lot of trash. So I started kind of realizing all this. Start getting away from that, and then I started with new habits. Eating plant-based food. I stopped eating meat. Crazy. I used to work so many restaurants, all kinds of restaurants, from high-class French food to uh, tropical Caribbean food, and in some fast food too. But the situation here is that all these restaurants that I worked at, none of them are healthy. And many that I go to, many places, very few, like counted places, because I researched that, I know they're a little healthier with local, organic, non-GMO food and non-processed foods. That's hard to find. So even in the places where I work, I will take my food with me and not participate in that. So it starts within our food, starts within our way of participating in society is through consumption. So one phrase that I like in my life is stop consuming and start producing. Consuming is consuming the planet, the resources, we're extracting and exploiting and creating waste and contamination. That's a capitalism consumist system, consuming. I don't want to consume anymore. So I realize that everything that I need to consume, it's for a productive reason. So it's like a transformation of something. So let's say if I consume food, I'm creating, not right now, depending where I am, but let's say in the eco village, I consume food, right? But it heals me or it feeds me. And then my waste is fertilizer. It becomes fertilizer in a year or a year and a half or 2 years, depending how I create the system. So my consumption is not waste. My consumption is food for something else or a benefit for something else. So it comes in with a cycle of a systems of cycle, a holistic system of cycles, closed loops, where these closed loops don't create waste, and it creates regeneration, creates thriving experiences. So my situation personally starts with my food, what I mentioned, and then little things like the toothbrush that I'm using, the toothpaste, the clothes. Do I have to go to a big corporation to buy clothes, or can I buy used clothes, or can I see if my uncles or my cousins have clothes that are not using that I can use? That would be the best. Uh, things like that we think that we consume, transform it into a less impact in a negative way to the point where it can create a positive impact in a regenerative way. So that's the hardest thing. Is, in your question was, what's the hardest thing? Is habits in a way that we go away from addiction. So the hardest thing is realize we have an addiction and change it to new habits that transform our lives, our culture. So that's in a short answer right there.
Yeah, super interesting. Would you say that many of us have addictions?
Yeah, definitely. Like what is addiction, right? So addiction is habits that not only are destructive for myself, but are impacting in a negative way my surroundings. So, and I can't control it to the point that I can't control it in a way that maybe I can realize I'm addicted, or maybe I'm not, but in a way I'm dependent on it and it's controlling me. So, and let me tell you what was the most addictive for me. So check it out. I used to be an alcoholic. I used to have patterns of addictions that I didn't realize I was addicted. This is very interesting. I was addicted to depression. I like to be sad. I used to listen to sad music and I'll be crying, and I didn't even have a girlfriend, and I will just feel that I want to cry, like about love and maybe being by myself or whatever. And then I was addicted to being mad. I was addicted to I even started stealing. I was mad with the corporations. I will go to a corporate, let's say pharmacy or whatever, and I will end up putting stuff in my pocket and stuff like that. To the point I got addicted, and I would do it like really easy, and to the point that every time I would go, I wanted to stop and I couldn't. It's crazy. Addicted to work, addicted to money, addicted to sex, addicted to lying. It's like all these, one addiction leads to another addiction. It was like they were all complemented, like a whole system of addictions. So I had to stop most of the hard ones, like let's say me and alcohol and all that at first. And I was at the time that I was doing some substances like drugs, not too heavy drugs, but definitely I abused them. And I was able to have some type of control over that over time. After a few years, I controlled it, and I got away from all this. Is a willpower that I had. I was surprised with it. I'm very proud of that. And then I couldn't step away from milk, not milk, but cheese and ice cream. I was addicted to cheese. I was addicted to ice cream, like really bad, like out of control. So, and I'm talking about years ago where veganism was not very popular. Like you barely hear the word, and you couldn't find vegan cheese or vegan ice cream. No way. So that was for some time. It was hard for me to let go. Bread too. Bread was a big one, and yeah, I was able to do it. At some point, I managed to. You know what? A big trick that I did, and maybe it helps with a lot of people. Because I was so addicted to so many things, I was able to manipulate my mind to be addicted to the good things. So I use the energy of addiction to be addicted to plant-based food, to be addicted to do exercise, to be addicted to, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I took that energy and focused in a different way. And it's hard, but it was helpful for sure.
Thank you very much for sharing. And like, if someone listens to this and might be aware of an addiction, but I guess the tricky thing is with an addiction, you might even be like aware of that it's not really healthy to you, but you're addicted to it. So like you can't like easily like just stop it. What would be like an advice like from you to like is there something like a best practice or something? Or
first, you like for me, and I will recommend anyone, whatever you're addicted to, research as much as you can about that. So you don't have to memorize it. You don't have to. If you want, you will, but get enough information so your mind is tired of it. You know, so it's kind of okay. I'm addicted to smoking.
So you mean like information about the bad consequences, or
exactly?
okay.
It could be good too. Like let's say there's some good consequences, but to know about everything you can about it. But mostly it's gonna be bad, right? So you can watch documentaries. There's books about something. There's articles. There are experiences from other people. You fill all this information with to yourself, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna do it today. If you say I'm gonna start next week, it's just gonna be harder because that day comes. And for me, it depends on different people. But for let's say I want to start next Monday, okay, you start building up by next Monday. So it feels like, okay, I'm going to smoke as much as I can or eat as much cheese as I can before Monday. So it becomes like tricking yourself. You're going to just go crazy on it before you start. And then it might help, but at the same time, you're not being honest with yourself. And I believe the best way to go is today. I want to start today. You're researching today, so I started, and that's it. I started today. If you're researching right now, I started today. So today I stopped eating meat or whatever you want to do to create a new habit, and you put the substitute. So one thing that in my mind that helps is that if something feels that you made a mistake or you can do better, immediately in my mind I say, okay, what can I do next time instead? So for example, oh, I didn't put the salt in the soup. I didn't put the salt in the soup. I messed up. Instead of saying that, I say, okay, how, I'm sure I'm gonna put the salt next time, but how? And then it's like, how am I gonna make sure I'm gonna put the salt system? So you put a system, you create a system that you remember the next time you're making that soup. There's a step there that reminds you have to put the salt, and that is very helpful. So you create a system of thinking before you go to that experience again. So
Okay.
yeah, so you two things. You realize what you're doing, you study as much as possible, and then you create a system that whenever you come across, let's say, a cigarette again, you create a system that helps you improve or substitute or whatever. For example, if I see a cigarette, I'm tempted to it, boom, destroy the whole package and throw it, like something like that. And whenever I feel anxious again, whatever, I'm gonna drink some water, or you find something that you can substitute it, but it gives you way better benefit than what you're doing right now. So it doesn't only substitute. I'm not gonna substitute a cigarette with another thing that gives me nicotine. I'm gonna substitute the cigarette with playing soccer, because I have to have playing soccer. I can have better lungs than smoking. So you know what I'm saying. So smoking a cigarette, substituting with nicotine, is not the way to go.
Yeah, that's very, very valuable. One of the things you mentioned before, that like you were at a point in your time where you had no purpose and was like just looking at society, was like not a really pleasant revelation how our society is working, and then you like decided like to change where you are and how you like are part of this like society, or how you interact with nature. And like, did you like, would you say now you have a purpose and you found a mission? And like, if you also want to share, like, what is your like, what's your vision, what's driving you? Because I'm like always really curious to hear about those things.
Yeah, before I was living the American dream, for say, like working a lot, getting to buy a house, I did, and a car, and all this life, married and everything. So I really thought what I was living, but at the same time, there was a point where I felt lost, and I really didn't feel that I was doing something that I was here in this world that I had to be doing. And so I guess I went through this process of questioning. I questioned absolutely everything I could, to the point that my life in this society didn't make any sense. And life of humanity doesn't make any sense until now, still for now. Like at the same time, I went through an acceptance. I accept that everything that's happening has to happen for us humans to learn. It's beautiful how it is. It's perfect how it is. We all have to go through this process. And now in humanity, with 7 billion people more, we have to go through this learning experience to open up to the new open up to the next level of dimensions, the fifth dimension, or the state of consciousness, the frequency of consciousness. We all need to open up to that again, because we kind of lost it. That's the feeling. Like everything that I'm saying is information we have in our DNA, in our subconscious. Is all this from our lineage, from our ancestors. We have it. So we lost it. And now it's how can we learn to remember again, and how we can open up to this consciousness. So then learning this, I realized, okay, I have to be of service to life, not to be a servant as a human. What's it called when you're a person that you have to do whatever they tell you to do? I forgot.
Like a slave.
A slave. Yeah.
Mm.
So not a slave, but a servant, to be of service of what am I good for here in the world? What can I offer? That's the least we can do as being grateful for being alive. So me being alive is a miracle thing for me. Like I'm grateful for this, being alive. So the least I can do is to give back by being of service of whatever talent I learned to have, or expression that I can give to the people that may help others to also live their lives. So that's the big point that happened of how I transitioned from the degenerative culture into a regenerative lifestyle and mindset. Mm-hmm.
And would you say this is possible on large scale? This is possible, like as a global humanity, to live in a regenerative way, sustainable?
Yes, it's not only possible, it's a must, because the way humanity is living right now, we're actually killing ourselves. We're not living. We're not living. We're surviving, and we're killing ourselves while we try to survive. That's most of humanity are living like this, including myself and my family still. And so when we observe this, we can immediately change our way of life in a large scale. But we choose to not observe this, or if we observe this, we choose to not take action. For example, I have some friends and family that, oh, they tell me, I know that if I watch that documentary about how the food system works, I'm going to stop eating meat.
Hmm.
But I don't want to watch it because I don't want to stop eating meat. And period. That's, do we have to respect that decision? For example, another observation related to this. If I'm waiting the bus in the street and a person is smoking next to me, I'm a secondhand smoker. So literally, I'm being affected by the person next to me in a negative way. I have the right to tell that person, excuse me, sir, you're killing me. Please smoke somewhere else, or even better, stop smoking because you're just killing people around you and you're killing yourself. The same thing is happening with eating meat. Meat, for me, and I can assure many other people too, is an indirect way of killing myself, of killing other people. For example, in my family right now, most don't care about transitioning to a healthy lifestyle, so they eat meat and they cook in front of me and everything. So indirectly, they're killing me and they're killing other people. Why? Because of the acceleration of methane gas in the atmosphere and acceleration of climate change and the big negative impact. So this is a problem because there's indirect actions occurring that we don't realize as humans that are participate in a degenerative culture. So yeah, that's my observation there.
So there's really, you say there's many people who are just not aware or not interested, ignorant to a change in lifestyle. But my question is then, like,
Large scale.
assuming that people want to change things, like what, like, I know that you're very much into permaculture, and maybe you can talk a little
Yeah,
bit about this, because are there systems, or is there a way to live in symbiosis with nature, or like in harmony, or like,
yeah, definitely.
because like I get, or like if you look at the mainstream like information you're exposed to, like, I mean, you will listen there or hear like industrialized agriculture, etc., is the only way to feed like these amounts of humans, and there's no other way of doing those things. And could you share a bit about like,
Yeah,
like what's the
so
truth, or like what's
there could be large scale implementation of regenerative culture principles, and it starts within ourselves. It starts with our local neighborhood. It starts with our family, and basically it starts with the connection with nature, the understanding of the existence of nature, and the acceptance that we're part of it. And from there, you run into permaculture, agroecology, and food forestation or reforestation. And these practices allow us to understand the system of life better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So as humans, we think that we know how to live, but we have no idea. So if we observe nature, there is systems that guides us to a harmonic lifestyle where we're healthier, we're more abundant, and period. Yep, that's it. So permaculture, if you're not familiar, and some might be and might not, is
Mm-hmm.
the science to design systems that allow elements to have multiple functions with each other for benefit. So different permaculture practitioners or teachers define permaculture in their own unique way. But what I just mentioned is the basic, is the science to design systems in a way that elements in this case nature, in all cases, but we're learning first from nature, where we can incorporate human settlements within the design system, where an ecosystem doesn't need human interference to help the ecosystem thrive. The ecosystem is self-sufficient, resilient. So if we learn to design human settlement through the systems of nature, we can thrive as well, and we won't feel scarcity, never. We won't feel competition either. It's also a way where we can really learn how to communicate. Basically, is how to build relationships that matter, not relationships of competition or relationships of in this case classism, where some are rich and poor. Like, there's equality or equity for everyone because of how we design the system. It all depends on how we design. So permaculture allows agroecology. There's also independent type systems that many others are creating through practice. Like, there's different eco villages in the world. There's Arco Santi in Arizona. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There is Tamera in Portugal. These are big cities of regenerative lifestyle where they have their own food, their own energy, their own clothes, basically as self-sufficient as possible, like having their own water system. Like, you can think of anything, I'm sure they're covering it all, or some type of connection with other networks in their surroundings that they can cover their resources.
So from what I understand, it's really to live self-sustaining, that you're kind of like, you're getting everything and you're living in harmony with nature, that you, like, you're kind of recycling everything. There's no waste, and you produce everything you need and there's no waste. Or how can I, because I personally have never heard that term before. So I'm really curious to understand a little bit better and also
Yeah,
to
please.
share the information. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Is it just agriculture, or is it like and how could I picture it? Is it like basically there's a little village or so, and they like whatever they produce cotton or so to make their clothes, and then they like have crops they live by, or like
Exactly. So the idea with when you start studying permaculture
mm-hmm.
or agroecology is more in terms of the food system, and permaculture is more of a holistic system. Bill Mollison, who started permaculture in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
even said that I don't want this really to be permaculture. I would love to be just called culture. Like, culture as it is, culture as of having habits that allow more life to exist, habits that allow more life to exist. Culture in that sense, and in this systems design, we can design where there's no waste, like in the ecosystem. We can design a system of consuming, let's say our food in this case, that it's not packed with plastics and wraps and boxes and all this, but designed to be packed in a reusable item or whatnot, or compostable. Use it and then have it biodegrade, have it where it becomes fertilizer. That thing. For example, the bathrooms were in a way that our waste as humans can be fertilizer or be a regenerative item, or the waste of the animals as well. And everything surrounding this system helps us live. So, for example, a house in a conventional setting is a house where you have to take care of the house. You have to make sure it's on top of everything, right? Like electricity is being used well, the water is being used, the pipes, the holes on the walls are not cracked, the roof and all this. In a permaculture house, you have to do that, but at the same time, the house takes care of you. This is like a living being. Like the house is part of the ecosystem where you have a garden in and out of the house. It feeds you. You don't have to go thousands of kilometers away to have food or have someone bring it to you. It's just right there. You don't even have to have a refrigerator. You just pick the lettuce, a few leaves of lettuce. So all that energy that we use in the city is you can cut it in half really easy. Like how to wash our clothes. You have machines that could be run with bicycles instead of electricity. So we're using our cycle motion to generate energy for the laundry machines or whatever, the pumping energy for the water, anything. So the situation is that you can design, depending on your space, a way that creates more life. So that's the purpose of regenerative culture, is how you can create more life. And every decision and every action that we make in our daily life, how is it creating more life? Yeah.
It's really interesting. So I was preparing for this interview. I was reading a little bit about permaculture and was reading that it may include like settlement, food garden, food forests, bioconstruction of homes, water harvesting, irrigation systems, renewable energy, alternative economies. Like I would love to talk about this too. Zero waste, natural medicine, ecological textiles, even technology. So it's like really mind blowing, because that's not something you really like hear about. And I also stumbled upon this quote: without permanent agriculture, there's no possibility of a stable social order. And that also struck me. And you talked a little bit before about that.
Yeah.
And it seems also that ethics, to have a values, that seems really, really important in this way of living with nature.
Yes. Yeah, the ethics is people care, earth care, and fair share, which means these three ethics allows us to have better relationships with ourselves, our surroundings, and an economy that creates abundance. So when we start learning about nature in the patterns of through the mythology of permaculture, allows us to learn a lot about why life exists, what's our purpose, and how are we participating in it. And then you have 12 principles that through design, with these principles, you can allow nature design with you. So the first principle is observing. When we observe, we accept how nature is working already in your space, in the space that you're observing. Mm-hmm. And with this observation, you communicate by participating with what already is. So it's not that, okay, I'm gonna come in this space, I'm gonna throw everything down and I'm just going to build whatever I want. No, we sit there a day, 2, 3, whatever you need to observe how the wind blows, how the insects or what insects are in the area. Everything that is happening in that moment allows us to understand our space and design with these patterns. So in your design is, for example, one thing that happens a lot is plugs or a lot of bugs that come into your beds. It's because there's a disequilibrium in the ecosystem. So if we have a monoculture of something and we have 1 or 2 types of bugs, immediately we think, oh, these are pests and we have to kill them all. They're not pests. The pests don't exist. These just are insects or animals that want to eat. So one of the other principles in permaculture is not to separate or not to let go, but join them on the design and understand why do they exist and how can we help them become part of the design instead of excluding them. And not only pests, but a lot of plants that we think are herbs that just go wild and we have to kill them all. No, they're part of an ecosystem, so we have to learn how to incorporate them. So there's so many things in permaculture that I invite everyone to be curious about and find out more about it. And if you have questions, I can help answer them as well as guide you to some courses that are around the world that I can connect you with. Everywhere in the world, you can find someone doing permaculture and become part of the movement, because we don't, I personally don't want to feel like this, but it's not that I have or we have the answer to fix or save the world. It's permaculture. For me, it is, but I feel that if we're bragging about it, hey, permaculture is the answer, this and that, no, but many are not going to listen. And it's kind of like a slow intake, a slow digestion of, okay, oh, permaculture, interesting. For me, the first time I heard it, it just blew my mind. So it has to slowly be integrated in society. So that's what's happening right now. And a way we can accelerate is wherever we are, just apply what we can. So it starts within ourselves. If we're doing trash or we're doing compost, or if we can participate in a community garden in a neighborhood, or if we can find out somewhere in the city someone doing permaculture or something similar and participate. And that's how we grow and expand and accelerate the process of regenerative culture. Is start within ourselves, participate in your neighborhood, participate in your city, wherever you are, in order to expand that community of permaculture or regenerative actions. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
And is this a recent phenomena, or is this something new? And you mentioned 2 villages or projects before. Is this something which already is existing, like live? Are there like areas or like tribes, like people like living according to this, or is it more like still experimental or?
Yeah, there are many hundreds, even thousands of permaculture projects around the world. There are a lot of websites. One of them is Regenerative Institute, or anything permaculture. You're going to find a lot of projects, not only urban in a sense that you're doing it in your house or in your department. There's also communities, or urban communities, or rural communities. Then larger scale, like eco villages or cities that are implementing not only permaculture principles, but principles of their own, where permaculture allows us to design, but then in the practice, you start experimenting new things. And each community has their own experience and their own principles in a way, something similar to others, but depending on where they are and who are they with, that we all create our own type of principles within the regenerative understanding. So yeah, you can find in networks like Global Eco Village Network, New Mundo. It's numundo.org. You can find many regenerative projects right there. You can be part, you can volunteer, and you can become member or even habitant of an eco village, or you can start your own. There are many courses that you can start your own eco
Mm-hmm.
village. You can buy also, there's a new thing coming out called permaculture um, real estate, for example, but not only for houses, but condos. So you buy
Yeah.
a house on a condo where there's already permaculture gardens there, water systems in the permaculture design. It's kind of like you buy a house on a condo, but in a modern sense, where it's kind of really a little fancy, where it's wow, you can have your garden right there, someone taking care of it for you, and solar panels and whatever. So it's cool. It's happening.
Okay, that's super
So
cool. Yeah, we
yeah.
will add some information to the show notes so that people can check it out. And
Yeah, so one is called Casa Latina, another network where you can find some projects in Colombia that they're doing this type of condos with amazing architects and joining permaculture and architecture very well. Cool. Mhm.
super cool. And uh, you mentioned also that you're involved with an eco village in Ecuador. Is that also permaculture project or?
Yeah. So, like we mentioned, Collective Wave,
Mhm.
it's our collective. And within this, we have a few projects. Our latest project is the Regenerative Culture podcast that we're very
Mhm.
happy about. But since 2007, we've been having many projects. It's been slowly growing. Like, as you know, myself, I started very young and with no money, no resource. So we slowly been growing in terms of creating small events, and each event will be getting better. So basically, we have right now an event called Festival Seeds. Seeds in Spanish is semilla, and in Quechua means muyu. So Festival Seeds help every year build the eco village. So Festival Seeds is a transformation experience of regenerative culture that also, while the festival occurs, helps build an eco village with the local Quechua community in the Amazon jungle. So a lot of people from around the world come. The last time we had about 150 people.
Mhm.
We had bioconstruction workshops, economy workshops, or sacred economy workshops, even tantra workshops, or different types of workshops that allows us to understand the regenerative culture lifestyle. And during these 7 days of transformation, really a lot of people started really letting go of holding on to strong emotions, or letting go of anger, letting go of a society that was limiting them or ourselves in a way that is healing, is a healing experience, and at the same time learning how to build your own house, or learning how to do your garden bed, or really just creating relationships with no internet, no any other type of distractions, just you building relationship, cooking, getting dirty, going to the river, learning Quechua, as all these experiences. And then the Eco Village is being built right now in the fourth year. It's called Sikwanga Eco Village. So we got the Festival Seeds,
Mhm.
which is building Sikwanga Eco Village. And those two are really are good projects. And then we have another one. It's called Flora Plant-Based Cuisine. We opened a restaurant in Quito. That is, we moved it now to Florida. And now we're in Florida. We opened a food truck, and we're thinking about moving to San Francisco and move over there. Our Flora plant-based project. So at the same time, we're still working on the Eco Village. So we're over here in the United States right now, really to letting know about our projects and raising funds, and helping spread the word out. So that's what's happening with this. And then we have another project called Tropicana Music, which is uh, an event with tropical music, but at the same time with a few principles that allows us to experience regenerative culture. So Tropicana is actually started way before Collective Wave, when I was used to drink a lot and dance a lot. So that's how and I was dancing
Mhm.
salsa in that time and whatever. And then Tropicana went evolving from tropical music to more modern tropical music to more regenerative culture, while tropical music is happening. So those are our main active projects. We have a few more to come, but that's what's happening right now. And we're thinking about launching our website. We're actually planned for this Sunday, November 15th, to launch our website, our podcast, and we're gonna be raising funds also for our trip from Florida to San Francisco, taking our food truck. That's a lot of stuff happening.
Super cool. We will add all the information to the show notes. One of the things I'm also really curious because so I mean what I get, and you might correct me when I'm wrong, like you talk about degenerative culture, and you also mentioned political systems before, that you looked a little bit into this. Like, what could be an alternative to like the current systems we have? And I think in another conversation you mentioned also sociocracy. And like, I've personally never heard about that term. I looked a little bit into it, and it's really interesting. Like, is that something you're involved with too, or do you have some experience there? Or like, also like, how do these, like in this permaculture, like what kind of framework, how do people live together? Yeah, like to really create a different society. That's a big question. You know, like,
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, is we have everything to live a healthy, abundant life in the world. Every single person, we have everything. We have technology, we have the knowledge, the wisdom, we have everything, except that humanity is not open to it. Like, we're ready for it, but we're not open to be ready, as most humans. So for us to transition, we have to learn how to communicate, every single human. So politically, the current system is based on plutocracy. And plutocracy is allowing the system to feed the rich, feed the corporations. So these systems are degenerative because it doesn't think about the rest. So the invitation is here to analyze whole systems thinking, where, you know, digging into the information, you may come across to sociocracy. So sociocracy is also, you can find it in some permaculture courses. They can tell you a little more about that. But sociocracy is a non-hierarchy systems of communication. So there is no, hey, I'm president, or I'm here to lead the conversation because I'm going to make the decisions here, or nothing like that. Is we all make the decisions, and we take turns to facilitate how those decisions are going to be made. So sociocracy gives us tools and guides us through a structure of how a community can take decisions. And I've been practicing this for the last 3 years almost. I'm part of the Casa Latina network. And
what's that?
This is in Spanish is Consejo de Asentamientos Sustentables de América Latina. Is a network of, in this case, sustainable human settlements. So it's another way of saying eco villages, or and actually this network is an extension of GEN, Global Eco Village Network. GEN, Global Eco Village Network. Casa Latina is an extension of that. So I had the opportunity to learn about this network, and I slowly been getting involved to the point I'm right now an operator of the circle of projects inside the network. During these years, I've been learning and practicing sociocracy, and it's amazing how there's no one is the boss. We all empower ourselves. We all step it up, put what we have to do on the table, and we all make it happen. And of course, there's up and downs, but mostly is because it's a learning process for all of us to keep practicing. And the people that I'm there with, that they've been practicing for many years, they facilitate the workshops on sociocracy. I invite many people to check it out. In Casa Latina, you're going to find sociocracy workshops, how to make decisions in community. And many companies can do this as well, how a business model can follow a sociocracy type decision and stop being, oh, I'm the owner, you're the employee, do what I say, I pay you, and that's it. But more like, okay, we're all here. Yes, some people put more money than others, but that doesn't mean we can't make decisions together because we can participate. Some financial decisions might be made by someone who's the owner, but to transition from the current business model to sociocracy business model takes some time. And then there's new forms of legal approach where it's called cooperatives, where everyone is the owner of the business, and then you all take decisions together. Different type of different type of system. So yeah. Any other question on sociocracy?
Yeah, it's super interesting. So I was also reading a little bit about it, and what I understood is that like decisions are not made by majority, but basically by consent. So that literally means that everybody like needs to agree, and then only then there's a decision is made, and basically you talk so long until that point is achieved where everybody agrees to what's the decision. Or
yeah, it takes long, especially at the beginning if you don't know how it works. But the facilitator, with the structure that is being given, we can make the meetings very efficient. So basically, we can start with the facilitator, which guides the meeting, the guardian of time, and then the typewriter who takes notes of the meeting. Those are like for the three first participants, and then each subject of the agenda of the meeting, it's presented by different people that propose the topic on the agenda. So then the decisions to be made, it goes by rounds. So one by one, we start making a decision without interruption. So during the process, we learn how to communicate more efficient without, going out of the subject, as well as being patient, and also non-violent communication, because sometimes we feel a little bit aggressive, or sometimes we want to jump in there sometimes. So this experiences allows us to settle down a little, cool off, and reformulate. And there's one specific verse. There's a verse that we follow.
What's that?
If the decision that is being made right now is enough for now, let's move on. It doesn't have to be perfect to make the decision right now. If it's good enough for the moment, let's move on. So asking ourselves this question is very awesome, because there's so many topics around one decision, and then finally we get close, but then we keep letting it longer. So then we have to all make it a stop and say, okay, let's do a round. Do we all think that this decision that's being made good enough right now, for right now? And then we touch it later in the future, put a date on it. Okay, let's do it. And we move on. So we move on each meeting. And then after one meeting a week, and after a few meetings, man, we all move forward really fast. The decisions are made fast.
And I would assume, like without having a personal experience here, that like it's really important that you have trust to the other people, right? Or that you develop trust. Maybe like, I don't know how often you meet or see each other, but I guess like when you come together to decision make, at some point you also get to know each other very well, and you develop trust, which then enables like this kind of decision. Or is it required, or not really, like to have some kind of trust or shared vision or something like that? Or would it work with strangers?
Yeah, trust is always good. And my perspective, I trust right away. I've learned in my life that I can't trust anyone, and people have to win their trust with me. But I also learned in the last few years that I can't live like that. I have to trust. And after I trust you or the person that I'm involved with, it starts degrading their trust. So for example, I trust somebody, I meet somebody and I say, okay, hi, how you doing, Mario? And yeah, I trust you 100%. But if Mario keeps coming late, or he said he was going to do a work and he's not doing it, so I'm kind of losing the trust a little bit on that, right? However, the system of sociocracy, uh, to make the decisions, it doesn't matter if you trust or not. We all can make the decisions. We all make the decisions, but there's definitely needs to be trust to see if, okay, if you want to work on this, Simon, you want to work on this right now, and you say you're gonna finish by the end of the month, I have to trust you, and the whole team has to trust that you're gonna finish. So, and if you don't finish, the whole team is not gonna trust on you. So you're gaining that reputation yourself, or you know. So it's slowly going towards there. And every meeting, I personally have to share what I can give in order to keep all of us being trusting ourselves, and then to the point where we're comfortable and say, okay, yeah, let's meet and let's move on, make decisions really fast, or things are done, and we grow.
It's yeah, it's super interesting. So there are permacultures where then the people they come together and like with this sociocracy that they kind of like make decisions together, like find a consent, like a decision, then as a team like go after that. And one of the other questions I had, if it's really isolated from anything else, like is there still money or like involved, or is how does it work? Is it like whatever, like I have the bananas and you give me like a piece of clothing or so? Is it good versus goods, or like, or is there money, or is like how does exchange of goods work, or is it the case at all, or is just like everybody like owns everything, or is there a sense of property still?
Good question. Yes. So what we mentioned, sociocracy is just a system of how we make decisions. But then now we're mentioning about the economy. And yeah, we will use sociocracy to make decisions of how the economy will be used, or function. So in regenerative culture lifestyle or system, each community or collective may do it in their own way, and it's their own process. Some of them are more radical than others, but there's so many options for economy. It could be trading, it could be cryptocurrency, it could be time bank, it can
What's
be
the time back?
time bank. So you use
Okay, how
time.
does that work?
There's platforms of time bank where you use time to record your production. So for example, I give a salsa dance lesson 1 hour,
Hmm.
and then a dentist can give me 1 hour of a treatment, or so it's time per time. It doesn't matter if you're
The output, or
it doesn't matter if you're a big doctor, PhD that does surgery, or a salsa dancer. It doesn't matter. You want salsa dance is 1 hour. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
that's it. If of course you want an hour of not surgery, but the first meeting that you want to know about your status in your life and your health, it's usually 1 hour, and then you have to pay, I don't know, like 50 or $100, dollars or whatever, for that first appointment. But you can match that with time banking. There's also cryptocurrency, for example. Now there's blockchain that's decentralized, and then there's blockchain that's centralized. If you're up to date with what blockchain is and cryptocurrency. So the banks and the Federal Reserve right now and all these are buying cryptocurrency, but they still are going to control these crypto, like if they were doing it to regular money right now.
Mhm.
So it's very important to understand where you want to participate. In Ecuador, with our friends, this is not our personal project, but we participate in the creation of our local community crypto called Muyu seeds
Mhm.
in Quechua. And this is based on blockchain. And we use the Muyu within ourselves. You don't buy Muyu with the dollars. It's just that you come into the community and you're given 100 Muyus, right? Just because you opened the application. It's awesome.
Mhm.
You open the application on your phone, and we didn't start with the phone. We started with an Excel sheet, worksheet.
Mhm.
But now that we evolved and we have our application, you open the app, you put your info there, and then you right off you get 100 Muyus, which is dollars equivalent. And with these 100 Muyus, you start buying right away. And the only requirement to be part of this community is that you have something to offer as well. So a product or a service. So you have 100 Muyus to spend. You buy food, you can take your car to the mechanics. There's a big community of 120 people right now where you can exchange services and goods with the community. And then when you're low on Muyus, let's say I have two Muyus left, I have to give my services. What can I do? Is and you get to meet the community, what the needs are. Okay, I'm gonna give my salsa classes, charge I don't know 10 and 15 muyus, and then I start building up my muyus again. And the idea, very important to understand here, is that we're in this community. You can't be collecting muyus and then I have 10,000 muyus. Like you have to rotate. You have to keep buying. You can't be accumulating here to be rich. It's kind of like we have to rotate the energy. And it's awesome because more people start joining in and you start feeling that all your needs are covered and you didn't have to use dollars or banks and checks and all this. It's just application this is following your transactions in a private peer-to-peer way where there's no fraud, and that's it. And it's the best thing could be happening, and it's amazing because the community has empowered itself and everybody has their a responsibility. So it's kind of like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And one person doing the website, the other doing the colors, the other the design, the other the marketing, the other. Nobody here was paid for it. It was all volunteer. And then when there's more muyus are being rotating, now you're getting paid for the service. Now you're in charge of the website. Okay, now you're getting paid, I don't know, 50 or 100 muyus a month for uh, just putting some info there on the Muyu website, right? So that's an economy. So basically, there's so many ways of practicing economy, but I invite everyone to get out there and research. Like I mentioned, for me, the best thing is to create your own crypto with your own community and start from there. It's hard, it's not easy, but there's facilitators that guides us to make this happen, and that really doesn't cost. We can do it too. There is also be involved with crypto in general, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I invite everyone to be part of that because it's a new revolution of money, peer-to-peer, decentralized money that we can exchange anywhere in the world with. Not now, like we would like to, but eventually it would happen. So this, I invite everyone to start getting involved with it, learn with it, and and get your money in crypto so you can make more money even now. And those are the basic please. Then there's also sacred economy. What is it? This is really advanced. This is more
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
with there's an amazing man called Charles Eisenstein. He wrote a book on sacred economy, and he has a lot of other published articles, and he does a lot of speeches as well. And a very interesting person on the perspective of how this works. And I also been have come across to questioning this and how economy can work.
Mhm.
So imagine a community of 20 people, yeah, And I see that one of the members doesn't have shoes, and I make shoes in a sacred economy system by consciousness communication. I gift shoes to that person before that person even thinks that he or she needs the shoes. Another person may need a guitar to learn how to play music, but then another girl makes guitars. So by getting to know each other in the community and sharing our love and our expressions and our visions, these gifts of resources start fulfilling the economy of the community. So we gift with love something that a person needs. If you question right now that Christmas is coming, what's the best gift for somebody? Something you just buy for somebody? What do you think? What's the best gift for somebody?
Care, attention.
Yeah, so for me, let's say I want to gift something to my mother. I'm not gonna give her a blender or a toast machine. I'm gonna gift her something that really means for her, that she's not only gonna use it, but she's gonna feel it and love it. For example, getting to know my mother, I realized she likes to sing. She likes to sing. She wants to practice to sing, but she's not moving forward too much with it. So what can I do? I gift her a little karaoke microphone with a little speaker, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't cost much, maybe it was a cheap one, but the intention is more valuable than the gift itself. And then the gift is received with so much value, more than what it costs. So then my intention of using this gift, it helps me express more, and I didn't have to buy it. I don't have to think about buying it. It was just gifted. And when I meet with other people, I say, "Oh, where did you buy this?" I didn't buy it. It was gifted. It also has more value to the people that, wow, you were gifted that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm.
So in general, the community can be fulfilled with its resources and its needs through gifting, through understanding the needs of the other people without necessarily going through, oh, I need this and I have to go buy it, but actually offering it before you need it in a way that, oh, wow. Well, it doesn't have to be before you need it, but that's my ideal sacred economy, what I'm saying, you know. But the intention here is that gifting is very powerful, especially in our mindset. Like, how can we gift more? Yeah.
Wow, man, that was incredibly interesting, and I feel we could go on for a couple of more hours speaking, but I want to be respectful of your time, and so
Yeah.
I want to ask you: is there something you still want to share with the listeners? And also, you mentioned already a little bit, but if you have projects or information or something you want to get to know the audience, or like let it out, yeah, please share with us.
Yeah, man, thank you. So basically, well, first, I'm very grateful to be here in the show with Simon. And this is an opportunity for me to share that regenerative culture is something real. It's not a new culture. It's just any culture in a regenerative way. And I invite everyone to consider, to observe their own culture and how to transition the habits into regenerative culture. So basically, I want to give that message to everyone and invite to our Regenerative Culture podcast, which is going to be launched this November 15. And you can find us on the link below of this video or podcast, where you can log into the new Collective Wave website as well as the Regenerative Culture podcast, and then the other projects that we have that you can be involved with. And any other question about any other eco village or permaculture courses, I can also send you some information on that. Send me an email or something, and I'll just share it with no problem.
Super cool. Dear Yoshi, here at Beyond Perception, we really value what you're doing and support you in your commitment for a regenerative culture. We will share all the resources discussed and also your social media details so that everybody can follow you. And to the listeners, if you like what you've heard, please check out Yoshi's work. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and share the show with the world to make a difference together. And I want to thank you for who you are, taking the time to be here, sharing your experience, your wisdom with us. And it's really about looking beyond our individual limited perspective to make sense of the world, discover a bigger picture, and find truth, our true nature, potential. And it is a true honor to travel on this journey together with you, Yoshi. And I really look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Simon. It's been very grateful, very fun too. So see you guys again. Thank you so much. Peace. Any comments, let me know. Ciao.
Goodbye.